for you, and we'll head into it. Thank you so very much for your patience there. As
we have this conversation, like these are our normal conversations, so don't worry about it. This is.
I hope that you are enjoying this.
Yes, because this is like you sitting. I wish we had this like more of an unofficial thing where we just sit back and talk about random stuff that come up in our head, but just having a camera in front of us, that's basically what we do the whole time. So welcome to Pro League. Hello. We are actually having a show, and it is Latino Americana. So Habana, Thatcher being our second ban. We'll remind you that what happened before is that we got in, Habana got banned, and it literally crashed the whole thing. So now we got everybody back. So it's Habana, Thatcher, Mira, and Echo. Are you surprised? No. Does the Thatcher ban surprise people? Yes. Because you're like, why would you ban Thatcher? There's Maverick and there's Thermite. Are you planning on playing? I don't get it. Most of the stuff that you would do with Bandit and with Mute, like they're, it's kind of redundant to ban Thatcher here. I don't see. Obviously, removing the Thatcher means that you can't click one button and automatically destroy everything.
The Thatcher ban means one thing. Number one, Maverick will need to be ran every single round because there will likely be a Kaid run every single round. But, at the same time, there's no Kaid here. So I find this fascinating, right?
There's not even a Mute or a Bandit or anything. We're playing in Locker CCTV, which is like...
Immortals ban Thatcher, which means that when Immortals go on defense, they're likely going to run Kaid every single time. They're also going to probably run Mute an awful lot. They might
play open
Bandit.
Area?
Yeah, without a Thatcher, what do you have for this gadget denial? Well, you've got a Twitch who's going to come out in the hands of Bullet, an operator that he plays no matter what, so it doesn't matter if there's a Thatcher ban. He's going to be using it. I'm just surprised that Team 1 isn't necessarily taking advantage of this, because Team 1 were likely not expecting a Thatcher ban. Now, they might not play with a Kaid. They might not play with operators that Thatcher, utilizes very effectively. And he counters very effectively. Pardon me, it's the heat. But Immortals have set themselves up for their defense, knowing that if they can keep it close, that there's a high likelihood that they might actually be able to open up an even greater gap and send this one away faster. And Team 1 could have taken advantage of the lack of Thatcher, but it's likely that Immortals have a strategy that involves, not needing a Thatcher. So whether you bring a Kaid or not, Immortals were probably prepped and ready for it. Doesn't matter, what team it is. Rayduct goes for a spawn peek right off the hop. And that is what you like to see from Team 1 and their aggressiveness. He's going to hold down open area as the Legion and throw all the goo mines down and waste a lot of time. For those that are curious, no, Legion is not always an anchor. He can hold map control extremely effectively.
Really? Are you saying that an operator that has something that allows him to detect where people are moving and where they are not is good at crowd control and map control?
He is. And I think that using your Legion too aggressively is a major pitfall for a lot of teams because you want him to stay alive for quite a while, right? He needs to be alive long enough to build up all those different traps. But he can also hold down areas that are pivotal. Yep. Example, right above the actual site, which is where he's positioned. And he's got Lukid with him as well. So Team 1, a lot of coverage on the main floor. There the Gridlock you don't say swears there. The Gridlock tries to run on in, and Rise will confront her. You hear one of those track stingers go off as it bounces off the shield of the Clash and will push back. The Immortals have failed to take control of open area for the time being, so they instead will push over towards the server stairs.
The beauty of this setup, though, from Team 1 is because they're running the Legion in Archives and he's got the support of both the Valkyrie and the Clash, it means that he is actually pretty darn safe. So whenever it's needed, the hatch that is already open in the office and open area is going to allow him to drop down. Now, Rise will be lost, but that's the Clash, and you're burning off a lot of time for this. You really don't want to lose the Valkyrie as well, because you kind of need the C4 for later. Is there someone to support the Valk? Not yet. He's going to need to try and run away from this, as Novi's will flash in. It's already spotted, and the Valkyrie is still on her own inside. Turns away, and Lukid immediately finished off, as well as Rayduct. So, oh, very close to finding another bullet. Will go for the refrag on false. And Team 1, biggest problem right now in that 1v4, they had the advantage. They didn't know when to fall back. And that's how now the site is completely open. The Twitch is just doing free damage to the Maestro. Well, down the Cyber, or down Cyber, and remove the gridlock from play, but her job's already done. She pushed away the operators that needed to be removed earlier on. All the utility being spended, flashes being thrown into the site. This diffuser has to be set ASAP. There's actually not much time, so Skadinia actually has a chance to shut this whole thing down. He goes in for the pre-fire, but Bullet is already there. Low on HP, but the hatch that was already opened by the defenders in the roam attempt will backfire. And again, Team 1 not knowing when to fall back. They already burned off so much time and dropped it to around 40 seconds by the time they lost 2 extra bodies. Not great in that point.
No. And Team 1 just being a bit too aggressive and not playing it safe on a site where you realistically could do that. The CCTV site downstairs in lockers that you just saw Team 1 defend is large enough that you can keep all 5 bodies in sight. You can hold down the elevators down below. You can hold inside a vault. You can keep 1 body inside a gold. You can have somebody inside lockers or possibly even playing in garage. You can have somebody in the little red stretch of area that leads from gold all the way to the hallway too. There's a lot of opportunities for defenders to sit in positions where they don't need to expose themselves. And realistically, they don't need to hold the same kind of map control that you would on other sites.
Sure.
This is very similar to Clubhouse when people defend church basement downstairs, because defending the church/basement, you can comfortably fit all 5 bodies down there as well. It's not a it's not a claustrophobic site. But Team 1 invested a lot in trying to hold the main floor, and it was a gamble that ultimately just didn't work out. Immortals read off it and feeded off it and fed off it really effectively. And they were able to capitalize, taking out a couple members of Team 1. And when that happened, you lose that map control, you lose that time advantage, you lose the surprise aspect, and then it really just comes down to Immortals having whether they have enough utility or not to execute on the site. And in this case, Immortals is bringing enough utility that they didn't really need to sweat it too much.
Yeah, and again, I'll repeat myself in this. The big problem was Team 1 did not know when to fall back on the site. They had the advantage, they burned time, they got a kill, they traded 1 for 1. That's the time where you go back on the site and be happy with what you have, because your opponents still have not even gotten the server. You can play blue off of it, peel off, play the onion game. It wasn't really the case. Well, now in this round, Immortals are actually coming in from below with 2 players into garage. This eases you to counter any potential pulse play or such from below, which actually happens quite a bit. There's a lot of teams that will run the pulse and then play them downstairs to rotate back up or play the stairs. And this position right now is just being held by the Legion all the way up top. So Immortals are getting the information, but they need to ferry Bullet all the way to the top of the entire area. Novus as well, and the Maverick is actually fairly far away, but he's not needed right now to open up any holes. The big problem, there's no clear from Immortals so far of that top floor in CEO.
I mean, you're not really sweating time that much, though. You've used a minute or so. This upside-down rappel from PX is going to be extremely powerful because the way that the perspective works, you might not even be able to see the head of the thermite. So this could be a free kill, essentially. A free kill is going to happen on the falls as Novi's comes in, but Rayduct is there to have his teammates back, and a good trade from Team 1 to try and keep it in check. Now, mind you, Team 1 lost a smoke, but Immortals also lost a Maverick. So both of these teams are going to be feeling the heat when it comes to what they have and don't have available for utility in the latter portion of this round. But because it's a smoke, and because it's going to be playing on Teller's Archives on that first floor, I would say that Immortals comes out the winner. And they will continue to push that advantage as they catch Skadinia, who likely got a call to rotate on and over towards the stock/trading room, and he's easily gunned down by the IQ.
The way I understand this now is Immortals spotted the fact that that hole was very, very wide going into the towers itself. Nice shot from Bullet here, eliminating Rise. Maestro off of play. Pretty darn good Immortals at the helm at a 4-2. But that entire flank being open, that pushed Immortals to come in from below. And then Cyber and M-King just get the last 2. It is a beautifully executed round from Immortals. It makes sense once you see the rotation holes and how they are set for you to devise your plan at the moment. And because you saw that there was such a hole, you're expecting someone to be playing the back stairs. And because of that, you saw the Twitch really taking her time as she's going in with the Maverick, clearing the bottom floor. And from that, clearing the stairs and going on up. That's why it took them so long, and that's how the Maverick was really caught off guard and taken out, because that's how you're putting your strategy. The focus was not as much on the top floor because the way the rotation holes and the defenses were set up on the bottom floor were spotted, and it's a very good adaptation for Immortals. This is something that you develop over time and experience.
And I counted 3 kills from Immortals on a Team 1 where Team 1 weren't aware that there was going to be a fight at all. The Legion, the Valkyrie, and the very first kill onto the smoke, none of them appeared to be ready for the push that came out from Immortals. And number one, that falls on superior drone work and elusive drone work. Because keep in mind, you can drone somebody out and they can shoot your drone and be aware that they're likely going to get pushed from that angle. But it didn't happen in this case. Immortals were able to pick off 3 members of Team 1 who just weren't looking. And then, as it continued to move from the mid-round over towards the execute, with only like a minute or so left at this point, just under a minute, you have 2 members sitting inside of the site, and what ends up happening? Rayduct is holding an angle on an enemy that doesn't actually exist, instead gets pushed from inside of the admin office, over by open area, small office, depending on what you want to call it. Down he goes, and it's essentially a 4v1 at that point. Where do you go at that exact moment? Very difficult to come back from that, especially when the very first 2 kills from Immortals come onto your Legion and your Smoke. Probably your 2 best operators, and if you looked at the operators that were on the board, probably the 2 strongest operators in the dying moments of a round for Team 1. So they've been aggressive, and they've been trying to take fights. That first round may be a bit too aggressive. The second round, maybe a bit too passive?
Very passive. Usually when you defend in Teller's Archives, you put 2 players upstairs by CEO, one inside the site, one kind of patrolling the meeting area / stock / hallway. All of that is his. There's usually at least 1 player on the site, usually the Smoke just staying there, or the Maestro. It really depends on what you're planning. 1 player around open area that can be supported by one of the players upstairs in CEO, because you have a rotation hole from Janitor and the hatch being open to allow you to drop down, but also not completely reinforce the rotation from open area office or the small office, as you said, into archives. There's a way to set that whole thing up, and if you don't have it that way, then you just end up being spread out. A lot of the players were set in and around the site, but not really holding on to open area. Nobody really in CEO, at least the majority of the round. They were taken down pretty easily. Nobody holding the stairs, even though you have such a huge rotation hole. You're putting the Maestro in the elevator. Sure, he has a lot of firepower, but there's no one holding the main part. Like, if that hallway is shut down and that hole is open in your defense, you're not going to be able to do anything after it.
2 holes that were open. You had the rotate inside of office, and you had the rotate to the main stairs.
Yeah.
The way that Team 1 had set up their defense on Teller's Archives was to live and die off of map control and likely to get an opening pick or 2, because they've opened up so much of the site that as an attacker, you're going to have hesitation to push the site because you know the defense are likely going to be waiting and watching. That's why teams open up between walls. That's why teams open up other peripheral areas to then sit in, or peripheries, and then watch for the attackers to come in. But the problem was that Team 1, like I said, the 3 kills that came out were all onto unsuspecting members of Team 1, and they lost control very quickly. And it's extremely difficult for you to be able to hold all those angles, as you pointed out, because now you've got 2 people trying to cover 3 to 4 doorways and 2 rotate holes against a team that has 4 bodies still alive and utility as well. That's where the challenge really came in. And if you're going to play like that, you can't quite be as passive as you stated, because if you lose that control, you essentially concede the site as well.
Yeah, you not only lose the outer site, but also in it, because now you don't have information. The players that are on the site just have no clue what's going on. That's what happened at the end. When you're 4v2 and you're so spread out, you're not really going to be able to do much. You're kind of just scrapping around trying to find anything to get at the end of the round. But the main problem is spread too thin. When you do that sort of play, you really need to have holes and rotations and angles that could be held by multiple people on different levels. It's not just, oh, I'm holding this one open angle so the Maestro can peek in from the elevator and find the frag on the one guy coming in from the bottom or the top of the stairs. That's very one-dimensional. There's no one holding on the top. The Legion spent so much time just walking around in the hallway, got instantly shot. Why?
Not even just walking around, but you're 50 seconds deep. You've had a kill occur on Skylight Stairwell. You assume that there's going to be more than one person from Immortals playing around Skylight Stairwell, and you don't even look towards the janitor hallway or Skylight.
No, you're supposed to hold janitor for that and the rotation to open area.
And you rotate into that trading room, but you don't look towards the only way that you could possibly get pinched from. That's a mistake that's committed by Team 1. and it was a mistake that was immediately dove upon by Immortals, you know? Even though the AUG isn't necessarily the favored weapon of a lot of players, it still took the Legion down in 2 shots, 3 shots, because
Honestly,
they had so much time.
You talk about the AUG. It's like...
We have a lot of them in the game now.
What do you mean?
We have a lot of AUGs in the game.
Oh.
We have... It's
Augmented.
We also have... Like, Kaid has a version of the AUG, and then
Yes.
technically Gridlock does as well now.
Yes. Yes. It's...
We're talking about IQ's AUG.
Yes. Which is... First, I don't want to get into the fact that she holds it in a very weird way.
It also takes up half your damn screen.
And that's what I was saying.
You've got the AUG with the ACOG on it. It's like you're basically Capitao. You're just blind.
It's exactly what I wanted to say.
Blind on half of the screen.
He literally read my mind.
That's
I
why-
really
that's
hope
why-
that you didn't see any other images that you might not want to share.
That's why they pay me the big bucks,
Yeah.
just to read your mind.
Like 3 renown a day. We get paid in renown.
That is correct. Factually correct.
Yeah.
So through...
You think I can afford to buy the Nanotox 32, the new Legion skin that you can now purchase in Rainbow Six Siege right now, just like we have with our own money, actually. That was given to us as that money that we got, the extra, the Rainbow Six credits were our pay for Milan.
Mm-hmm.
We spent them on skin.
Rainbow Six credits and renown is our currency.
Yeah. Thank you, Epi. We need a lot of those.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Really appreciate it.
Worker struggle.
Now, I really got to say, I don't know if possibly Team 1 lost the map ban phase, but so far you've got 2 of probably the easiest to defend sites. Maybe CEO is easier to defend for some teams up on that second floor.
Sure.
But Team 1 have put up almost next to no fight. You know, they only picked up a handful of kills over those 2 rounds, and it wasn't even that they got those kills because there was a good reactionary refrag in Skylight Stairwell in that second round, as I mentioned. But that was really the only thing from Team 1 in that entire round that stood out to me as being a positive. The rest of it was entirely Immortals picking apart the defense, reacting accordingly, and then just continuously pushing as the time got closer to 0. And then Immortals won it outright. So Team 1 have really failed to have anything come together on the first 2 defenses that they've had. And it's not a surprise to see that for the very third defense, or for the third defense, they're going to roll the dice on another site. Now, what this really speaks to me for Team 1, though, is that they're obviously not comfortable going back to those sites. Because if you lost CCTV lockers downstairs, but you know that more often than not, you win it, you're very comfortable on it, you'll go back there a second time. Same with Teller's Archives. You'll go there a second time. But as we see this roulette of sites for Team 1, it starts to form a thought in my head of maybe they're just not really comfortable with Bank. Maybe they're not comfortable with defending Bank. And maybe they'll be better when they're on attack. But for the time being, it's going to be about, hey, let's try to keep this as close. Because as I said, Immortals banned that Thatcher because they've likely got Team 1 being handicapped. And Immortals are going to know how to play around that when they're on defense.
Yeah, on a theoretical level, the Thatcher ban doesn't make as much sense as you think. Oh, here we go. That's the adaptation, and we'll find nothing. So, theoretically, the Thatcher ban is only something that'll slow you down a bit, especially on this map where there's so much destruction. The big thing that you really have to worry about, as you said, is maybe Immortals definitely know something that we don't about Team 1. Team 1 maybe rely too much on a Thatcher, don't really know how to maneuver on the map to destroy these sorts of bits of utility from below. The mute jammers, the bandit batteries. Maybe this is something that Immortals really want to plan, where they roam quite a bit and catch one player off here and there as they're trying to destroy that sort of utility. There's so many things that can happen here and there. The initial surprise is definitely always very shocking kind of thing. No pun intended to the shock drone itself, but here you
just
go.
Lose the shock drone on the stairs?
Yes.
To what appeared to be an evil eye cam.
Yes, it got shocked.
But, you know, that was a huge buff. Not just was the Thatcher change. Oh, no, it's still around.
Was that? Oh, no, it's the same one. It just went off of it, or we changed the camera, I think.
The problem is that a Twitch can single-handedly take out both evil eye cameras with one drone. You zap it, it opens up, you can zap the center, and you destroy it again. Cyber is waiting for it to open a second time and possibly get that information from Bullet, but it's not going to come out for the time being. So inside of the main lobby is where Immortals are making their home, except for Novi's, who's now inside of open area and will scamper on back up top. And he's been very successful on his entry. He found Rayduct playing down below, got the opening pick, alleviate some of that pressure that's going to be on the attackers to try and worry about map control, and is going to continue to chip away at the advantage that Team 1 has inherent in the defense here. With the rest of Immortals circling around Skylight Stairwell, you know that it's going to be a back CEO take, which is very commonplace. You're going to have to wrestle with the fact that there are mute jammers on the board. This is where no Thatcher is going to come in very handy for the defense. But there is a Maverick, and Navi's is just going to be able to completely open it up. And, yeah, hopefully get the mute jammer here, which apparently has jammed all of our audio.
Literally jamming our game. It's that strong. I'm not sure.
I didn't expect mute to get this kind of buff.
Yes, there was no shadow buff that happened today as far as I know, but
yeah,
maybe it did. So now it even happens to our own headsets, and that's not just in your head. Maybe we could have just continued the same way as if like all the explosions were happening, but just confusing people.
A lot of people actually ask if they can hear or see the perspective of individual players, and congratulations, you now get to hear the perspective of mute. So your wish is our command. Anyway, there's only 10 seconds left, and Skadania will fire back for Team 1, but it's an advantage for Immortals as they have failed to get into CEO, and everything is working in favor of Team 1, who look to be, for the time being, holding off the enemy at the gates. Bullet finding a kill, but oh no, wait!
What?
What happened? Novi's out of nowhere. It looked for sure that Team 1 was going to hold on, but the Maverick comes in and gets them both! Oh my goodness! Immortals somehow in the dying second, singular second,
literally,
is able to win it. And that's 3 in a row now for Immortals on what should have absolutely been a defense for Team 1.
Yes, and also, you talked about Novi's in the pre-show, and 100%, this is a player to look for. I mean, absolutely insane bit of play there from him. And all he did is just walk on in and shoot them from behind. I mean, they both lined up. So if only they didn't line up for him, the round should have been 100% Team 1. So this might actually have a massive negative effect on Team 1 as an entire team. Because right now they realize, okay, how did we even lose that? And something you touched upon at the start of the previous round is the fact that they're jumping from one side to the other. A strategic one, or is it the strategic decision, or is it more of a scramble to try to find something against Immortals at this point? Switching to another site right after you lose CEO because of a tiny mistake at the end is something that, to me, from my own experience, means that you're not actually comfortable playing Immortals, and there's something that you fear and or respect maybe too much for this matchup. It's always something to keep in mind. And M-King getting a free kill in the early stage here. He'll remove Radek, who every single round is going for that Jaeger spawn peak.
He's been read like a book. You know, they are aware that Team 1 is taking this chance as they haven't been making their presence unknown. They're basically waiting and firing off as Team 1 trying to get a kill inside of the alleyway. And because you're not holding the trigger, or you're not showing good trigger discipline, your position is being given away. And because of that, Immortals knows, hey, we're likely going to get a run out of some kind. We can possibly capitalize off of this. And it's a very free pick for Immortals, though M-King loses a lot of HP in the process.
Yeah, it's the IQ, so after that first engagement, the IQ usually sticks back. There's only a few times where you see her peek in, maybe eliminate one bit of utility or the other. But there's not really much here outside of Goo Mines and maybe the default cameras that you already know about. There's no Valkyrie to worry about, so Yokais, all of that, you're safe. You're someone who's going to be sitting in the back lines throughout the majority of the round. Maybe if Ryze is nice enough, he'll put you back on full HP. That's not always something to look for. But a lot of holes have been opened up here by Team 1. They are, of course, playing on that top floor in defense of Teller's Archives. So a top floor take would definitely help Immortals. They did not need that in the previous round, however, and with the Jaeger lost, your roaming ability and your map control is really going to be limited to we are holding on to the top floor and a bit of the bottom, and that's kind of it.
I'd suspect, and we will know this at the conclusion of this first half, heading into the defense for Immortals, that Team One might be just playing as aggressively as they are because they might not feel comfortable. And this might be where they are aware that they're at a disadvantage, that this map favors Immortals, and Immortals are more practiced here. Team One, being a newer team, might not have the breadth of knowledge of all the maps. They might not have the same map pool. They might not have the same, variants and strats. And because of this, you just essentially, swing for the fences, and you hope that you hit a couple dingers in the process. It's a sound strategy for a lot of teams because, again, it's Immortals walking in on drones, very deceptive droning, and being able to figure out exactly where Team One is. And there's only 30 seconds left, 3 bodies to try and hold off this push from Immortals, and it so far is shaping up to be a flawless round. Lucan is the only member of Team One left, and he's playing above. He could go for plant denial, but it's Navi's, who has been so strong to put Immortals up 4-0 over Team One. And for whatever reason, there's this trend. Every single play day in Latin America needs a, I would say, stomp.
Proceed.
All right, it looks like we're actually ready to get into the action.
Yeah.
5th round.
Interesting bit of action so far.
First match of the day.
Interesting matchup for the day so far.
Yes.
As a start, as a beginning. So, things have been heating up in and out of the game, that's for sure. In here, however, Team One, it's like there's literally one player playing so far.
I mean,
you don't know who it is. It's like 5v1. That's what I want to say.
I would say the only person that I've seen really put up much of a fight from Team One is Skadenia.
Yeah, but he's also been... Yeah, I guess.
I mean, he's been playing anchor roles, so basically he's tasked with getting impactless kills at the end of rounds, but that's really all that you've been able to see from Team One so far.
I mean, end of round is him dying.
It's everybody dying, because right now Immortals have locked out this game and have not looked like they are one step off of where they were for much of last season as one of Latin America's best teams. The only site that really gave Immortals any trouble was here on CEO, and that's exactly where Team One is going to go in hopes of maybe replicating that success. But with 3 bodies left, you're going to need somebody to watch the double door from Conference to come on in, because this gentleman right now on your screen, Novi's, he came in and he picked apart the remaining members of Team One with exactly 1 second left on the board.
He's so good. Also, this eerily reminds me of Rogue versus Dog Zero only a couple days ago on this very same map where Rogue were playing extremely passively. There's a way to play passively. You really have to be a bit more maneuverable than the current situation here for Team One. Now, Immortals have things on lockdown. This is, again, a top floor CEO defense, and Cyber's bringing the gridlock. An operator that actually have seen do quite a bit of work in EU Pro League, but she's also started to be replicating that success in every single region as well. She brings so much to the table. Sure, a 1-speed, but between the smoke, the saw, and the quick reload, as you see, the super shorty, the tracks, she's got it all, really. The big woman definitely does scare. If it scares Zeronic, I think it scares everybody.
A lot of teams have been running her AUG, though, in place of the saw, so it is quite fun to watch how players work around that. Keep in mind, she has pretty good guns, and the Super Shorty is a one-shot at close range as well, so it's not like her kit is lacking anything. The only thing about those track stingers is that you can utilize them on site to cut down rotates for a retake, or you can throw them onto the peripheries of the site and force somebody to have to shoot them if they want to come back for a flank. Now, it appeared that there was a body upstairs inside of this janitorial closet, which Navi's is watching for the time being. Doesn't appear that he has any kind of opportunity to find that person playing in there, at least for now. You've also got Cyber holding on the window, who could potentially put in some work if somebody gets pushed out in that area. And given how good Immortals has been at droning so far, you'd have to suspect that they know and have their target acquired inside of that room.
Well, reverse repel has definitely been something that's been used quite a bit in this matchup so far. So Cyber can definitely use that later on in the round, as he was earlier. So Flashbang is going to get thrown in to clear out the ADSs. There you go. Even more, that hits your teammate, does a bit of damage. It's fine. It's just a bit of, flounder here and there. But so far, so good.
Nobody's going to be able to take Cyber off of this rappel unless Team One maneuvers down towards the main lobby, and that's an opportunity for them that they'll have to do very quickly as you're in the dying seconds of the round. One of the CEO windows are open, and Rayduct is positioned to just pre-fire away. He's in trouble, and now Lucan is as well, but Lucan will win along with Falls, and we see an answer back from Team One as all of Immortals are falling down around them, and it'll be a round that finally Team One can put under their win column. It comes on CEO as Immortals goes for broke, and they swing on in and stumble as they land. Not as graceful as it could be. Team One finally breaking the streak that Immortals was running on, and it's a 4-1 game with the very final defense now 4-1.
Two things to really highlight in that situation. The timing when it comes to Immortals on the attack was pretty good. With 20 seconds left, you're fine. You have quite a bit of time to work through. However, the castle barricades were set up very well from Team One. They did not allow the gridlock of Cyber to do anything the entire round. So he's there sitting as more of a support operator outside. He didn't get to use his tracks. His teammates really failed to come in and get any sort of plant out of it. And then the second thing that went really well for Team One is that Maestro exists as an operator, and he has a lot of bullets. He is the definition of Daka in Rainbow Six, and because he has so many bullets, he can kill many people with them, especially if they touch Sasha. You kill the Twitch as she enters because she missed everything.
That was a great shot.
Yeah.
He literally popped up around the railings and just gunned Twitch down, and I think it was 1 or 2 bullets.
Yeah, that's all you need. And then you turn around, you still have so many bullets left in your box magazine, and you just do whatever you want. You can lock down any people in that hall.
And that's a power play position because you've got the rappels on the windows. You can also pivot over to conference room. You can watch the opening that was created by the Thermite and CEO wall. That Maestro on his own with the Alda is uniquely positioned to stop everybody. And unless Immortals can time a refrag or a trade when they push in to take out the Maestro, it's very hard to dislodge him from that position. The Twitch was tasked with doing that. Bullet couldn't hit his shots, and everything kind of snowballed from there because I find it hard-pressed to argue that Team One walks away with that round if the Maestro doesn't stay in play till the very end. So, ultimately, a hero play from the Maestro and a bit of a missed shot from Bullet, or missed shots, end up being the undoing of Immortals, who were the victim of time and circumstance. And with 5 seconds left, you got to repel in those windows. You know how vulnerable you can be when you do that. Final defense for Team One, and it's going to be CCTV and lockers downstairs. There's a perfect view of exactly how that evil eye can be taken out. I don't know if the Maestro's even aware of it.
Nope.
Skadinia might not know that he's lost one of his tools and will have to go on cams at some point. It will be worse for wear afterwards. Falls is interestingly pushed up as smoke, and he can't contend with the track stingers going off, nor the drone that will continue to drone him out. Track stingers tops for the time being, and Falls is still positioned behind that server stack in a rough spot. Immortals also know that there's going to be pressure from Team One and presence on the stairs of the server. Blue stairs, as you could call them.
Very true. No. There's the Jaeger upstairs. Now, Jaeger in this position is not great up, but is he running 870? Is he? Well, maybe something that we can check later. It seems like he's running the M870 on the Jaeger. Now, quick peek from Falls. No, he gets flashed at the wrong moment, but there's no follow-up just yet. Novice turns around. He pre-fires to the corner and finds the kill on Falls. Goes up. Still takes a bit of extra damage from the side, but now the blue stairs are completely open. Cyber will find a kill on Rayduck as Rayduck just doesn't realize that there's so many people close to him. Lucan is indeed running the M870. And his opponents will have to contest with him. Novice is 1 shot away from dying, and Lucan will save the day. Finds yet another kill. 4 shots left here, 4 shells in the magazine as Cyber turns around and takes Lucan out. And at the end of this entire engagement and fray, it's a 3v2 advantage for Immortals. The Maestro still in Garage. Rise finds the kill on Cyber. And it's Nick Larin.
So you've got Rise still playing. He won't have an ACOG outside of the 44 Magnum. He's got the AUG equipped, but he doesn't need it because Skadinia is going to be holding down this angle. Very similar to artillery. He'll bombard the attackers as they try to go in through this open hole created by the Lucky Clover of PX. But this is going to be a harrowing adventure. He's going to have to attempt to get the plant off. There's a C4 in the hands of Kaid, so keep that in mind. If Kaid needs it, rather. But right now, everybody from Team One are just going to play farther back. Continue to zap on the Thermite, waste as much time as possible, commit to the attack, and the Thermite will not be able to find 2 targets in the time, and Team One will pick up their second round in a row off a very smart play, and a play that they needed multiple of over the first 4 rounds in order to keep this one close. Still, Immortals will now move to defense with a 4-2 advantage, looking to put this one away in the second half.
Still, 2 rounds that Team One won because of Immortals messing up. It's odd to see. And I wasn't really expecting this to happen this way at all. What really ended up going down is Immortals getting maybe a bit too cocky and thinking, okay, this is an easy game. Let's just go through it, go through the motions. And unfortunately, that caused them to take too much time to do the basics, and they falter at that. And then Team One are able to capitalize, which is something that ends up repeating itself and happening a bit too much and too often in Latin America specifically, from my experience. Both teams kind of falling into that sort of problem themselves. If you look at their respective matches in the past couple of weeks, even at events, be it Milan or the Vegas Minor 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's still up in the air, really, of who can take this, because now the big question is that Thatcher ban from Immortals planned, and how will it have an effect? Will it have an effect on the round in general? Will Team One adapt to it? It's really the big question on our minds right here, right now. Buck is going to be brought out for the first time, so we'll have some grenades. There's going to be Capital, there's going to be Sofia, and you'll have your Maverick and your Thermite for extra, well, destruction in general. Everything's available. And this setup, actually, with these 5 operators, pretty much works on every single site you want to take on this map.
He's going to expose himself for just a second as he'll be detected and rush on back in. Not unsurprising to have one of the defenders playing inside of Garage, and not an unsurprising sight for it to happen on either. We've seen teams roam downstairs when defending the first or second floors, but when you're defending CCTV down below, you're likely going to have somebody trying to hold down Garage. Many teams try to make one go onto flank, and then make one of their members go onto flank and push on in during the later half of a round, or a latter half of a round. Navi's has retreated, though, and is coming a little bit closer to the site. There's a Maverick upstairs, and one of the smokes will go off from PX just to try and stop an advance from the attackers, who, I think reading into it, have wisely fallen back. It's a tough throw to make. Doable, but it's very, very challenging. You have a very small window of opportunity, lots of room for error. And speaking of that Garage presence, well, it looks like Skadenia has been maneuvered over to Garage, and he can push up as there's nobody from Immortals that are currently playing in that area. It's going to be the Zofia able to get closer, but nope, Bullet has now moved on over. And he sees one, but he can't quite connect enough shots. There's a second body, and I think Skadenia sees it. It's to be the Capitao of Rayduct, who's going to eat a couple bullets, allowing the Zofia to continue to push up. But this is being played really well by Bullet. He can't quite do enough damage to Rayduct, whose fire bolts will just miss, and getting shot underneath the van is Bullet. He's wasting an awful lot of time, and there's 2 people from Team One. Bullet will find Skadenia looking for a second, but Rayduct will get the better of him. 25 HP on the Capitao, but the rest of Immortals now know that there's a second body inside of Garage. They can coalesce around it. 1 minute to go, and Immortals anchoring down the site with a couple bodies off-site, and not as much utility for Team One as they would like to deal with it.
Now, both teams having run the Jaeger with the M870 on the blue stairs. Definitely something that works, especially in a position where you need the ADSs. You can't afford to have any other operator if you also want to play the Pulse. So it's kind of an onion that you can use later on in the round. A beautiful grenade from Lukid, using so perfectly, but falls on the drop. He'll get taken down instantly by Novi's, and that's actually the fuser on the floor. So Novi's knows all about this and will ferry the information over to his teammates. PX already knows it, and he's holding on to the angle. Rise actually finds the headshot on Cyber as the shotgun does not connect. And now the defenders are left on their own between the vault and the elevator. And leave that only the vault now for PX, and they'll have to deal with 3 players. Diffuser is on the floor. Damage has been done to the Buck through 1 bit of smoke that was used up previously. Diffuser should get set here. It's the last second left. And as PX turns around, he tries to fire. The bars are just eating up all the damage. And he's got a few shots left in his shotgun. You have quite a bit of range with that, but you're not going to be able to hit someone at the other end of Red Hallway. And Team One flying the round.
Fewer things that are worse in this world than trying to control an SMG-11 recoil around unpenetrable metal bars. basically the worst of both worlds. Enjoy not being able to control this. Also, none of your bullets are going to hit. Have fun. And the Capitao, who was already very low on 25 HP and likely would have been felled by a single shot from the SMG-11 connecting in the upper chest or head area, the Capitao of Rayduct doesn't take a single scratch in the process, allowing PX to maneuver back towards the site. And as he heads in that direction, well, you know that you've got him trapped inside of the vault and there's nowhere else he can go. As he gets over towards the Red Hall, it's the Maverick who shuts him down. And Team 1 have now found themselves with 3 in a row, and they have closed this gap in a hurry. I made a joke while we were on the break that, or as we were coming back from the break, that we might be halfway through this match already from 4 rounds, and 7-0s tend to happen to either of these teams as they've been involved in one every single week. But
boy, were you wrong.
Boy, was I wrong. Not this time. Immortals have the lead, but it's fleeting. And I do think this plays into the fact that I said that rehost is going to help Team 1. Allow them to shore up their weaknesses by discussing what went wrong, cool their heads off, get up, stretch their legs, grab water, do whatever they need to do. And Immortals, who had basically Team 1 by the throat, have to relinquish that grasp just because there's a time limit that says, hey, we have to break this up. You guys are going to have to come back in a couple minutes' time and start things underway. And unfortunately, just by circumstance, there's no way to avoid it, Immortals lose a lot of momentum in the process. We see this about teams with rehosts all the time, whether it's a game crash, whether it's a bug, etc. Doesn't matter what the rehost is coming from. Teams that have all the momentum tend to lose it when you have to wait 5, 6, 7 minutes to get back into the game. And I think that while Immortals have played a little bit of sloppiness, also you've got to imagine that their confidence is going to continue to decrease as Team 1 gains their own momentum, as they have so far over the last 3 rounds.
It very much is a shift. That's usually the word that is associated with this sort of situation. But Team 1, again, coming on in as Immortals might be thinking, okay, well, we lost the site, but we didn't really lose it because of our own major problems. So we're going to change up a few things, maybe play a bit less aggressive than we did, but otherwise we think we can hold it. This is the logic behind we will stick to the same site and we'll continue to play on it. And it's basement. It's usually something that also works out for the defense pretty nicely. What I like about Team 1 is that they're really not biting that bait, that snare that's being set up by Immortals to force them to walk down the blue stairs, because you have a Jaeger with a shotgun, you have all the ADSs and all the utility around him, and you have a Pulse downstairs that's also feeding him information and protecting his back. Skylight Hatch, though, will be open as Rayduck will actually find a kill on M-King. He just, okay, walks on in from the sewers and finds a free kill. The server's now completely open, as well as Skylight. So Cyber's on his own. He might have to fall back, and with nothing, Lucat is just going to chuck a grenade and demolish him. And here's another one for Lucat himself. Novi's taken away as the Capitao is still alive. Bullet will be forced back onto the site, as well as PX. Now what do? You have to hold on to your flank, but your front is lost.
And there goes my speculation as well that, hey, Immortals ban Thatcher. They're going to understand how Team 1 is going to play around this, and they'll be prepared to take advantage of it. But banning Thatcher hasn't done anything, and I think a part of that is because Maverick is in play. You can throw the Electric Claws on the hatches, but Maverick is going to cut through them. So it ends up becoming just a game of, okay, well, we do this, well, they do that. Well, we do this, then they do that.
What I think it's even more is that they were planning that blue stair strategy for quite a bit. They didn't want to lose all the ADSs very swiftly with the chat with, of course, Thatcher would have done pretty easily. PX somehow clinging on to dear life as Falls will sit on his diffuser. Unfortunately, it'll be dropped, but Team 1 already have the advantage, of course. And a flawless round at the end of it.
What a showing from Team 1, who have seemingly come back from the dead. They looked moribund and completely lifeless through those first 4 rounds, and now they have somehow dug deep and found this superhuman energy to close the gap. And Immortals, who are sitting in 7th to start the day off, are watching any opportunity to put this game away essentially vanish, as both teams are now tied. Dire straits for Immortals. They can rectify it. They have opportunities to go to other sites. That's the beauty of defense. You can try to catch your opponent off guard. But most teams are going to be prepared to wrestle with every single site that the defenders have. Now, my speculation was that Team One didn't look very confident here. And on defense, I don't think they did.
No.
Through a couple of those rounds, Team One looked completely lost. They were washed away at sea and desperately trying to find dry land. They couldn't do it. Now, they took a couple fights on defense, they get that confidence rolling, and on attack, they've picked apart most of what we've seen from Immortals. And like I said, Immortals banned that Thatcher, likely to try to play around the fact that they can use either breach denial, gadget denial, whatever you want to call it, on the defense, your mutes, your Kaids, your legions, your Valkyrie cameras, your bandits, whatever you really want to do that an EMP can directly take care of. And I haven't seen all that much from Immortals. I know you agreed that it was the blue control that for Immortals seemed to be quite so strong. They invest a lot in the server stairs. And a Thatcher is a great way to take care of the ADSs that are in place and keep a Thatcher in that position, especially with an M870 in his hand. But I haven't really been impressed with what I've seen from Immortals when it comes to them using and abusing this Thatcher ban. More so, I've now been totally impressed by what we've seen from Team One, smartly picking off the members of Immortals, and the attackers having such a distinct advantage so far on this map really goes to show you that both of these teams are quite confident, even more so confident than I would have suspected from Team One heading into this. And Team One now find themselves uniquely positioned to possibly put this one away with one or two very big rounds, setting Immortals on their back heels.
Well, Team One will continue to do the same thing that they were doing in the previous couple rounds. Just come in, take control of lobby. Now they'll have to face M-King on top floor. He's got a shield as well. No Evil Eye has been set next to him to hold on to near him. But again, Capitao, you can burn people even through the walls. So M-King is going to be forced back for just a bit, and the flash will put him inside of the elevator here. So pretty big move from T1 to be able to make it so far in and actually down PX. The shotgun of the smoke is just so far close, holding on to the staircase, but M-King peeks up at the perfect time and capitalizes on Radux's greed. Skadinia maybe also losing his life here, but no, it's Luke to save him. M-King taken away. PX is still on the floor with no hope of survival, but Novi speaks around. He takes 50% damage. Cypher with one more, as now the hallway and the top of the spiral staircase have turned into a death garden.
And if you're Immortals, you just need to wait. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You have a numbers advantage. You can hold different angles. You know they're going to have to come to you. Now, there's still a hard breacher for Team 1. It can be used at any point, though Bullet is doing his best to try and take one of the two members of Team 1 out of action and regain any kind of confidence that Immortals had in the very first start of this map. Bullet's position has been given away, but what tools do you have to get rid of him? Well, you've got a Buck who could possibly try to go over to the windows, but you don't have enough time. It's 45 seconds left. You can't go onto those double windows without wasting almost that entirety of the clock. And great suspense as we wait to see as...
I see you right now shivering with anticipation. Sitting at home.
I saw him at LAX last month.
Yeah, you told me.
Saw Tim Curry.
He's
not in the best shape.
Not in the same state as he was.
He's not in the best
that
shape.
movie.
No.
That
poor man suffered a stroke a couple years ago.
Unfortunately, and I mean he has that's great performance in the movie in general, but in that specific scene at the entrance, it's just fantabulous. That said, we might be going back to the game in just
Immortals won the round.
Yes. So the defense got it. They had the advantage. They kind of they didn't really do it themselves, Immortals. Team 1 just kind of got over-aggressive and over-eager. They bit off a bit more than they could chew, and at every angle, they'd find one that they found the down on the smoke early on, but as they came up, the Maestro already did the work. They had already burned out utility to try and take him away from that position, but he had already done the damage. He had already slowed them down enough. We go back into the game, and Immortals, what they did, they just sat back and waited.
I think the term for what Team 1 accomplished there, or at least used to try to accomplish their goals, was bravado. False confidence. They realized that they had Immortals now on their back foot, and instead of breaking them, they got a bit too aggressive, and because of that, you end up making stupid little mistakes. That's, what we call them. And in this case, Team 1 took 2 fights that they didn't need to take, and they lost them, and Immortals were positioned to rebound. And then when you're looking at a site like CEO and how linear the push from Team 1 would come out, it had to come from over on Spiral Stairs because the Thermite can't rotate over to the CEO without watching, possibly going downstairs, wasting 10 seconds to get to the other side of Bank. Keep in mind, this is one of the biggest maps in the entire map pool and in the entire game. So if Thermite goes to rotate through the main lobby, he's going to have to go down through Tellers or through open area, which could be fraught with peril. You don't have any drones, you don't have any intel. Somebody from Immortals might be playing off site, and now you've essentially put your buck in a 1v3 that is virtually unwinnable, given the time and the fact that you as an attacker need to get that diffuser down. So, Immortals knew this, and Team 1 had to commit through the front lobby. They had to go in through that CEO area and continue to push over towards the back of CEO office, and it's very easy for a defender to hold that one down. Very easy for you to just watch one of 3 doorways that they're going to come through. There was 3 members of Immortals. Bingo, bango, bongo. Immortals wins the round.
So, Immortals now will stick to the top floor. They'll have a couple players up there. They are defending now in Intelligence Archives. So Team 1 will move in from the lobby, take control of that. Big play here from Team 1, clear the top floor. You're playing the buck. You're playing operators. These 5 you can run on pretty much every single site here for Team 1, and you'll be good to go on Bank. And actually on many maps, if not every single one of them. They have a pretty huge advantage in terms of just the operator picks themselves. If they are able to ferry the buck at full HP to CEO, there's a lot of work that can be done to push back Immortals and open up the site for an eventual push. Lucan will find one onto M-King. That's a big one on Maestro. One of your main anchors eliminated. You see the janitor hatch is already opened before, and Novi's has a rotation hole with many fire holes as well prepared for him. This is something that didn't really exist for Team 1 when they were on this site on defense. That's how they were so open to their offensive.
Now, a lot of people say that this is a headshot machine, the MPX in the hands of Valkyrie, and Novi's comes, you know, in a position where he comes to blows with Rayduct, but because Rayduct is a Capitao and he gets shot in the leg twice, it's minimal damage, not even 25 damage. And now Novi's is not going to be able to get back into the site as he gets cut down from Lucan. Falls is there, traded off by Bullet, and Team 1 will still emerge with an even greater advantage. A 4v2 in favor of Team 1 with Diffuser going down. Looks to be successful as Cyber falls, meaning that it's all up to Bullet to go on in. His entry is going to be cut off by an asphyxiating bolt, some area denial. And if you're Team 1, you just hunker down and wait. The sign of the Capitao firing through the door, trying to anticipate a pre-fire onto Bullet, whose advance will likely be known in just a matter of moments. He'll go on in, look to the right, and it's in fact to his left where Rayduct is involved in the very first altercation as he absorbed some damage, but not enough to take him out of action. And there he is to once again put Team 1 even with Immortals 5-5. Very close to a draw here for these teams. And well, Immortals, the space station of Latin America, actually very fitting that space station was the graphic that was shown for Immortals at the start because of how much Immortals loves to draw.
Yeah. I have to dwell on that because, like, pretty much it's like Providence at this point how Space Station was shown.
Please dwell, by all means.
By all means. I will dwell on it and build myself a nice little brick home around it. Very cozy. Not in this heat, though. I'll make sure I put air conditioning in it. That's it. Yeah, it's getting a bit too close for comfort here. Immortals were running away with this entire matchup of 4-0. They just now, 2 rounds ago, get their very first round in the 4 that Team 1 were able to put up on the board. And now, sure, Immortals got one, but Team 1 followed up with one after it. Tie is a very big possibility. You go back to the basement, this is something that definitely will help Immortals. Securing that 1 point is definitely something that you're looking for. Anything less than that is a huge blow to Immortals because they are a team that has been contending for the spot to represent Latin America at LAN for the past year. It would be odd to not see them play up in the same way as they have over the past couple of seasons. We've been seeing this setup from the bunker with Maestro, just sitting all the way in the back of garage and just sniping people at the entry. You need to synergize with that here, Immortals, and make sure that you burn off a bit of extra time early on from Team 1 and you'll have a pretty darn good time. The big question is there going to be that much dedication to the blue stairs like we saw the Jaeger before, or not? The Dokkaebi will definitely be there to clear up any potential run.
Speculated that we were going to see Lion, and we actually haven't seen him once at all.
Have they been watching any Dark Zero matches?
Lion tends to dominate when he's involved, but not every team uses him, and his pick rate hasn't been, I think, as high as a lot of people suspected. So Dokkaebi can work as kind of a junior Lion of sorts. Though her gadget doesn't last as long as it used to. Of course, it auto-shuts off now. Team 1, in the first minute of action, picking up most of their drones and continuing on with that drone work will put them in a position to push in towards the CCTV site. And for the time being, Team 1's home is in the open area upstairs. Very patiently waiting, but there's still a Jaeger that they're going to have to deal with at the top of blue. He's got the shotgun in his hand. So Cyber, with the M870, along with some barbed wire, some ADSs, and a deployable shield, he's going to be able to do maximum damage at such close range.
Yep, and he's been fairly successful so far. It really gets difficult when the skylight hatch is open, as it is right now, where if you don't have anyone to support you from below, you end up being very exposed to your opponents just kind of flanking you. And a drop from the hatch, or anybody just moving on in from the sewers, all of that makes it so difficult for you to hold on to this position, and you're as good as dead. Especially the M870, which outside of certain ranges is not really doing much. All utility has been burned off here, and Cyber actually takes a lot of damage, and that's the play that you want to do. Team 1 coming from behind, there's nobody to support the Jaeger on his own, and suddenly that entire advantage you put yourself in with the shotgun, with the shield, and all the utility is all gone and dead.
40 seconds to go, and you've still got both logic bombs in the hands of the Dokkaebi as well, along with the smokes, and given that the ADSs will likely be used on the blue stairs, you're not going to have too much trouble as an attacker to be able to abuse the fact that there's going to be no denial there on grenades. King's the only person who sustains any damage. His bullet will have to fall off. He's going to be split pushed by the Zofia of Skadinia, who lights up the corner trying to find Bullet. The Alda recoil for the time being will elude Bullet, as will the target onto the Zofia, but gets down and finished off as Bullet falls, but Navi's is there, and Immortals puts 3 on the board. It's a 2v2 with Skadinia. Oh, and Lukid comes in, but it's 3 seconds left. They don't have the diffuser. They'll have to start to plant. That'll be Lukid with Skadinia trying to wait. Where is PX? He's got the marks. He'll drop. The Zofia will have to stop him, and Team 1 will guarantee themselves 1 point. It's a draw at minimum, but a win at best. Skadinia, even on 1 HP, despite his triumphant march through the garage, will halt Immortals' progress on the retake and put Team 1 in our final round on match point.
Can I just, if this is even possible, I would like to re-roll and see if the smoke had any canisters left.
I don't believe he did, because I think he used them all earlier trying to stop the attackers from getting in that main door, and then the thermite hole as well that was created next to it. I don't know if the smoke canister would have reached as well, given the angle. It may have.
He was right on the edge. You could have very much hit it, but it was so low on HP, the Buck there on his own. Oh man, like that whole engagement. Sure, you know that he's on his own and you can kill him, but you're not sure where the other player is. It always, hindsight is always 20/20 in these situations where we can see everything that's happening and try to understand it post round. But in that situation, it's maybe better to exercise a bit more lucidity and be a bit more passive in that situation. Allow your opponents to plant and then go for a retake because you know the angle. I mean, it was marked, so they knew where he was. Might as well just waited to see where the second player is. You're rushing for it. It's unfortunate that the instant he dove down, the smoke that is, the Zofia was here to greet him with open bullets. It's not as nice as it sounds, does it? Or is it? But Immortals definitely have the chance to tie it here, take it 6-6, get at least 1 point at the end of the day. Is that a Jaeger with a shotgun again? I can get this on blue stairs. Here I would be kind of confused, unless you want to put him very close up to the windows or in janitor solo. But otherwise, it kind of seems like a bit of a waste if you're going to put so much utility on the site, especially when you know Team 1 are bringing a Buck and a Zofia pretty consistently. And they can do a lot of work from below as well, which is not something that we have seen so far on the CO ticks. Open area at least is in control of Team 1, and logic bombs are still both available. The hatch is going to be watched for any potential drops, but Rise will not find anybody just yet. Team 1 just kind of setting around.
One minute here, and not an awful lot has happened. Team 1 will have to do some of the best drone work that they've done thus far, as PX will control the windows, and PX will manage to get away with his life intact. He knew that his time was limited and his days were numbered, but Rayduct is unable to put anything together with it. Once again, Immortals were not able to rotate a body down to the main lobby in the closing moments of the round to try and cut people off of Repel. And because of this, it's going to be a very powerful position for Team 1 to continue to sit on. One of those CEO walls will also be taken from an exothermic charge, as it appears that Falls has his eyes set on the second. Angle being held inside of the stock trading, and there goes your very first logic bomb. Now, if there was somebody from Team 1 playing downstairs, which there is actually, it's the Dokkaebi of Rise, and it'll be Navi's to win that fight. Very minimal HP used in the process. Understanding if there's somebody playing inside of that stock trading room upstairs, but no, Cyber gets felled by Rayduct, and that's the Jaeger down with the M870, so that close range menace will now be solely PX's job, as he's going to have the shotgun available. But it'll set us up for a showdown between these two teams with everything on the line. 3 points within the grasp of Team 1 for the time being, as it's a 4v4 with 45 seconds remaining, diffuser in hand, and utility still to spare for both the attackers and the defenders.
Nobody just yet on the Repel, just doing work. Now, the diffuser is actually going to be set here. Bullet will find the kill on Rayduct as he dives on down to the lobby, and diffuser actually will be pushed off for just a moment. Flash into the smoke of PX as he stays in the back and takes no damage. It's not Flash, but it's a 1-to-1 trade. Bullet and Lukid coming in for one of their own. Lukid turning around to the angle and spots the Maestro, eliminates him. Shotgun in hand, he finds another one. That's a triple kill. It's a 1v1. Novi's low on HP. Novi's very close to clutching this. He sprays all through the wall, and Lukid, he clutches it, and Team 1, they get the kill, they get the round, and they get the 3 points at the end of the day. Oh my god, it was a bullet away.
And it was all a skeleton key. A skeleton key kill for Lukid will give Team 1 the final punctuation mark on a thriller between these two teams that took us a while to find a finish, but look at Lukid. 20 kills. 20 kills. We would have to go back because there is a chance.
He got more.
There is a chance that he may have broken the record based upon the 2 rounds, or the 4 rounds that we played before coming back. So this is something where we don't keep track of the stats manually. We'll have to wait and see, because right now, at least us, there is a possibility that Lukid has either tied or broken the record. If he got 2 kills in the first 4 rounds, and he ties it. If he got 3 kills or more, then Lukid holds the rounds for the most amount of kills in one single Pro League map. And we'll have to wait because, like we said, we didn't have all the information through the first 4 rounds. The stats don't carry over. So a couple things to talk about, and we'll leave it up to you to try and determine it. And then we'll come back after the break and be able to make a proclamation as to whether or not he actually has the record or whether he...
Hear ye.
Yeah.
We will declare what is to be declared.
But that's it for us.
Yeah.
Team 1 picking up 3 big points, and they will emerge once again and get ever closer to toppling both NIP and FaZe at the top of Latin America. But both of those teams are in action next, so we're going to throw to a break, and then we'll be back with our match of the day. Ninjas in Pajamas versus FaZe Clan. Don't touch that browser.